Okay. Let's bring in BMO Head of Healthcare Research, David Seigerman. Evan, great to have you with us.
Thank you for having me.
Did Lilly deserve to be down 14% today?
I think it's a bit oversold, but it just shows how Lilly was priced to perfection. I mean, expectations for this data set, above 15%. They had been going around saying this. I had a quote from one of their executives, pointing to Wegovy-like efficacy. And in this game, a few percentage points really matters because you need to believe in the long-term strength of their franchise, and this puts some questions into it.
Do you think about the potential for this drug in terms of dollars, in terms of market, differently based on this data?
So I think this plus the concept of around oral sema, high-dose oral sema that Novo had been touting, this is basically oral Wegovy. We saw 16.6% weight loss, pretty good tolerability. Now you have 11%. So when you think about the oral market split, I think some shifts to Wegovy because people see that headline number, even though there's this food effect issue which we were talking about. But again, 11% probably more used in the maintenance setting once you lose your weight with an injectable.
So whereas before this data, it was seen that it was Lilly's market, and now there's an opening for Novo, and it actually looks very competitive. But in terms of the differences between the two, just to emphasize them, they're not the same. The weight loss, you can compare the percentages, but there are certain restrictions in terms of Wegovy in the pill, when it's consumed, how it's consumed, and the cost to manufacture is different as well.
Most definitely, and that food effect is so important. So think about it this way. If you're busy in the morning, you can take orforglipron whenever you want. With, Wegovy in a pill, you have to take it after fasting, so when you wake up, small amount of water, wait 30 minutes, and then you can eat. If you eat something as soon as you get up, you've missed your dose for the day. In terms of manufacturing, this is a lot of peptide, 25 milligrams, whereas, you're just getting 2.4 milligrams in a shot every week. So it's a lot of peptide they have to manufacture, so the cost of goods definitely higher.
I'm wondering because, with Novo's results, volumes were down, and so in order to boost volume, what do? Normally, you cut price in some way. Do you think that we are entering a phase of the weight loss drug space where there can be price competition?
Well, we're definitely seeing some pricing headwinds. I would also say the CVS exclusive deal, which we've talked a lot about, that's going to have impacts on both results, in the back half of the year. That's going to give Novo Nordisk a bit of a boost, be a headwind for Lilly. And, they did cut a deal, right? They're giving bigger rebates. So you're seeing a bit of a price, I don't want to say price war, but it is definitely some pricing concessions. It's not a race to the bottom yet. You don't see that with two players. So I'm not worried about that at this moment.
So it seemed like there was a bit of a disconnect on the call with the company saying we're so pleased
Totally.
And, 27 pounds on average and the street being, well, that's great, glad you're pleased, but this isn't what we're looking for. So how did that disconnect come to be?
That's a great question, and I would agree completely. I was actually very surprised, and I was listening to the call thinking, what is going on here?
I heard you got a question at the very end.
The last question, I did not ask about orforglipron, I asked about MFN, but I really think that, they look at the totality of the data. They see great weight loss, but I think you have to really look at it in context of what's out there and the expectations that they set. I'm really frustrated when companies set expectations, 25% with CagriSema, 15 or so % with this drug, and fall flat. Change the narrative, control the narrative.
Because they could have done that going into the data. Right. And I noticed, I didn't listen to the call, but David Ricks was on Squawk Box this morning, and he also seemed to be tone deaf to the stock that was dropping on the very release of the data.
Right.
You would think that after CagriSema that these companies would have learned. Does this make you think about the message, period, that Eli Lilly is putting out about any of its pipeline drugs?
I wouldn't go that far, but I would agree that you need to learn from what your competitors do right and wrong. Covering both companies, I have an advantage because I see both sides of it. There's a lot of folks that just cover Lilly and Novo, so you don't understand what the other side is doing. And sometimes you are blind to what you have, and I think that's what happened here.